It wasn't the kind of cafe anyone stayed in for long. The chairs weren't particularly comfortable. The music played just a bit too loud during certain hours. And the light, that dusty, slanting kind that made everything look older than it was, tended to exaggerate the quiet. But she came there often. Not for the menu. Not for the view. But because no one asked anything of her there. It was a place where she could disappear, slowly, deliberately, into a corner seat near the window and not be expected to emerge until she was ready. He started coming a few weeks after she did. At first, she didn't notice. People came and went. Some regulars. Some not. He wasn't loud. He didn't draw attention. But eventually she realized, he was always there when she was. Always alone. Never early enough to arrive with her. Never late enough to miss her entirely. And he always left 5 minutes after she did. She didn't know how long it took her to notice. Maybe it began as a feeling, that familiar sound of the door behind her, the slight shift in air as someone exited a few steps behind, never brushing close, never catching up. But it became clear. The timing was too consistent. Too precise. She would close her book. Gather her things. Leave. And within 5 minutes, he would follow. Not every day. Not every single visit. But enough that she felt the rhythm of it. Enough that she began to listen for the quiet creak of the door behind her, long after she'd stepped into the street. He never spoke. Never nodded. Never even looked at her directly. But something in the distance he kept, the exact, unchanging 5 minutes, felt intentional. Not urgent. Not hesitant. Just, chosen. She never turned around. Part of her wanted to. Just once. To confirm. To acknowledge. But something in her knew that to turn would be to invite something she didn't want to name, something that existed best in the not knowing. Because what he offered her, without speaking, without stepping closer, was a kind of presence that didn't need to be noticed to be felt. A shadow that asked for nothing. A person who stayed just far enough behind to let her move freely, but close enough that she never felt entirely alone as she walked away. And slowly, those 5 minutes became part of her day. She didn't plan to stop. It happened the way certain things do, not because of a decision, but because the body responds before the mind has time to interfere. The air was colder that day. The kind of cold that clings to the skin before settling in, that reminds you of the silence between things, not just around them. The sky had that heavy, gray weight to it, the kind that doesn't threaten rain exactly, but makes everything below it feel closer to the ground. She'd spent the afternoon in her usual spot, same table, same coffee, same view of the same street through the same thin window that was slightly fogged at the corners. The routine had become so familiar that she could move through it without awareness. The seat had molded to her posture. The scent of her drink had become more of a signal to her nervous system than a flavor. Even the act of gathering her things followed a script: book closed gently, scarf around her neck, hand over the lip of the cup before pushing it slightly inward, as if signaling to the air that she was done. She left. Just like always.